Hello and welcome to a brand new video from Wilkinson Cameras. Returning viewers may notice I'm not standing next to a pond, I'm not walking for a field, and I'm not talking to you from a park, and that's because we are in our brand new Wilkinson Cameras studio. So what does this mean for our videos going forward? Well, it means we're going to have more content, it means we're going to have better content, and it means we're not relying on this northwest English weather anymore. If you're new to the channel, make sure you press the like button, subscribe and the bell icon so you get notified of all of our new videos. And also we are super active over on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, so just give us a follow at Wilkinson Cameras. And now on to the reason why we're here, the brand new Fujifilm X-S10. The X-S10 feels like the very first true mainstream Fujifilm camera, at least for a very long time, taking the best parts of the Fujifilm X-T4 whilst compromising on none of the technical capabilities. And as always, let's start with the design. It's as beautiful and as vintage as ever, with a touch of elegance and class that you would expect from a Fujifilm camera. It looks a little bit like an X-T4 that shrunk in the wash, but has a much larger front grip, which means the size difference between this and the X-T4 are negligible. Because of that front grip, the practical usage stays the same. It's not a pocket-sized camera by any means, but it is smaller and lighter than most cameras in the same price range, weighing in at 465 grams. And as you can see from the shiny exterior, the X-S10 is made from a magnesium alloy body, which lends itself to a much more premium feel than you would expect with a camera at this price range. One of the things I say a lot about Fujifilm cameras is that they can sometimes be a little bit of a learning curve, especially if you're new to this style of camera, and that dial-heavy approach has been stripped back on the X-S10. We have two fully customizable blank dials on the top, and the main shutter dial has been replaced with a more conventional automatic aperture priority, shutter priority manual mode selector switch that you would see on more conventional cameras. Fujifilm purists may not be too infused by that change, but for me and for the people that the camera is aimed at, this is a great change and lends itself to a much more user-friendly approach than we've seen from Fujifilm in the past. Thankfully, still present are the AF joystick, which, no pun intended, is a joy to use. You can navigate the menus quite easily and also, of course, selecting your AF zones. And also the Q menu button is here on the top to access Fujifilm's quick menus. I myself am a big fan of the Q menus on Fujifilm cameras. I think they provide the most in-depth detail you can get in a small menu in any of the camera brands we test. The main star of the design though is that front grip. It's rare to see a grip that caters to both large, small and anything in between hands, whilst also maintaining the comfort and agility that you would want from a camera that specialises in portraits and definitely some of the impromptu street photography. If you ever look at examples from Fujifilm cameras, some of the best examples you will see are in street photography. The EVF is certainly above average at 2.36 million dots and 100 FPS refresh rate. Though strangely enough, the best viewing experience I've found comes from the very angled display on the back. And this really does make a difference, especially for content creators and vloggers. More on that later, because it is completely articulating front and back. The X-S10 isn't just a pretty camera, it packs an almighty punch. One of its biggest features is Fujifilm's class-leading in-body image stabilisation. It's 30% smaller and 30% lighter than the IBIS unit you'd find in the X-T4, but the performance difference is barely even noticeable, providing 6 stops of image stabilisation when used with one of Fujifilm's compatible XF lenses. That's only 0.5 stops less than you'd get in the X-T4. Of course, the X-S10 also comes with digital image stabilization and IS boost modes, which does apply a 10% crop onto your photos and videos, but is super handy if you've been caught out without your gimbal, tripod, maybe you've even forgot to charge your gimbal before you left the house. Something I've definitely never done, probably. So I thought I'd go handheld for this little bit. This is with the in-body image stabilization turned on, with no digital stabilization at all. So this is what you get as a minimum when you're using the image stabilization. So this is the next level of image stabilization. This is digital image stabilization, which applies a small crop factor on any of your videos, but does provide you with, and I'm just looking at it now, really, really stable footage considering I'm literally just holding this with my hand. And then finally, we have in-body image stabilization, optical image stabilization, digital image stabilization, and IBIS boost, which provides an even larger boost in your image stabilization. Obviously, the same goes for any digital image stabilization. If you move too much, you can get that wavy effect, but looking at it now, I mean, I'm really impressed. When using the mechanical shutter on the X-S10, you get a comfortable 8 frames per second. But the X-S10 really shines when you move over to the electronic sensor, capturing 30 frames per second of burst performance. 30 frames per second, that is the same as the video that you're watching right now. And when you combine that with Fujifilm's Sports Finder mode and pre-shot, which captures images before you've even captured them, you're looking at possibly one of the best mid-range sports, action and wildlife cameras all in one package. The autofocus in the X-S10 has been incredibly reliable and accurate as well, with face and eye detection proving to be great features that I've used a lot when shooting portraits. And if you've seen our review of the Fujifilm X-F f1.0 lens, you'll see that Fujifilm's autofocus systems really are up there with the best. We've left that video just above to click on now. Coming back to the sensor that I mentioned before, it's the same sensor that you would get in the flagship Fujifilm X-T4 and the X-T30, 26 megapixels, which is great, especially for low light performance, and the dynamic range that you can get out of this sensor is really incredible as well. And I bet you're surprised it's taken me this long to get to it. Yes, the Fujifilm X-S10 does feature 18 film simulation modes. If you've seen me talk about the Fujifilm Film Simulation modes before, you know that I'm a massive fan of them. I think they provide a great depth and just a new level of fun for your photography. We even see a history mode, which if you press the Q button, you can see all of the history about the film simulations, what they were based off, and how they are best used. And if you're still learning about film and film simulation, you can just switch it to automatic scene detection mode, which will apply a film simulation based on the scene that you're looking at. For example, if you're shooting a landscape, it'll look to put your film simulation into Velvia. And it goes without saying, color science. Color science is Fujifilm's bread, it's butter, it's mayo, it's ham, it's everything that you want from Fujifilm. And that color science has copied perfectly over into the X-S10. I'm really happy with the results that we got, even in different lighting conditions, and of course this ever-changing northwest weather. Video-wise, we get a lot of neat little features packed into this neat little camera, from its 4K 30 frames per second mode all the way to its 1080p 240 frames per second mode, providing a very usable slow motion effect that doesn't compromise on detail at all. And we even get a much longer recording time. Unlike its sibling, the X-T30, we get 30 minutes of uninterrupted 4K recording. Now, I did say I'd get back to our content creators and vloggers, and that's because the X-S10 will allow a HDMI output, a 422 10-bit 4K capture, some of the best 4K capture that you're going to get in a mid-range mirrorless. And for our vloggers, the AF eye tracking and face tracking will work continuously through video modes. So if you're using the articulating screen to vlog, don't worry, that AF will keep track of your face. So, should you buy the Fujifilm X-S10? Well, it's got class-leading in-body image stabilisation, professional features such as 30 frames per second burst modes and eye tracking, amazing point and shoot capabilities thanks to its in-body image stabilisation and articulating screen. It's got gorgeous film simulation and features that are just too many to list for this video. It's a great second shooter for professional X-T3 and X-T4 users, or a perfect first camera for someone wanting to move over to mirrorless, for someone moving to Fujifilm, or for someone looking to up their video game. If you'd like to know more about the Fujifilm X-S10 or anything in our Fujifilm range, come in store, visit us online, or give us a call, and of course we're more than happy to help. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.